Today is pre-order day for the new Kill Team box, Brutal and Cunning. We're going to go through everything that's in the box, some things we like about it, some things we don't love about it, and whether or not we think it's a good deal. Today is pre-order day for the new Kill Team box. Games Workshop sent us a review copy for free a couple weeks ago, so we've had a chance to dig through the teams and take apart the box and see what's inside it, and there's a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, what do you got? You got 2 new teams. You got a rulebook.
Yep.
With a lot of cool art and stuff in there. You got tokens for the new teams. You got cards for the new teams, which is notable because Hivestorm did not include the card packs for the teams. This one does. You also get the new terrain, which is like the wall upgrade kit for Volcus, but you don't have to use it with Kill Team. You don't have to use it with Volcus. You can just use it.
Yeah,
it's just cool terrain.
Yeah. I don't know, but tokens.
Yeah. One quick note about the tokens. I'm pretty sure some of them are missing because we were referencing what's on the little card that says all the tokens that it should have.
Right.
And then we looked on the token sheet and I'm like, is it here or am I blind? And I'm pretty sure it's missing some tokens, which is weird. Just full disclaimer. But you can totally play them without the tokens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, should we talk about the teams?
Yeah, let's get into
the most exciting thing. The new Wrecka Krew and the new Ratlings. Cool teams. They're both very cool teams. Very different. So first, let's start with the orcs.
Sure.
I think people like orcs. First things first, this team is an 8 operative team. You're going to get 6 orcs and 2 squigs. You're locked to always having 2 bomb squigs. You're locked to your knob. Your knob can either have a melee focused knob or a range focused knob. And then you have options of...
Sorry.
And then you have options between 5 other like specialist type operatives. I think this is going to be a 2-box team in the end because there are going to be times when you want to flex between choices, and sometimes you're going to want to take, a bunch of fighters. Sometimes you're going to take a bunch of like the ranged Gunna, which is like the warrior operatives. I think, you can totally get by with 1 box, but to be truly competitive and have a complete roster, it's going to be a 2-box team. The Wrecka Krew has 2 faction rules. The first one is Wrecka points. So whenever you're fighting or shooting, whenever you roll a 6, you'll gain a Wrecka point. There are some restrictions on how many you can have at one time and stuff, but basically that's the gist of it. You're going to get Wrecka points whenever you roll a 6 in a fight or a shoot. You can spend your Wrecka points to upgrade a miss to a normal hit, which is really good because especially for the shooting on this team, most of the shooting is 6 dice on 4s or 5s, so it's pretty unreliable, but the Wrecka points can make really key shots that you need to hit. So
there's something beautifully orky about it, that it's like the shooting is pretty unreliable unless you roll 6s, and then it becomes extremely reliable. It's like if you really want it.
Yeah, it can snowball, I think. Yeah. The second faction rule is tanked up. Whenever you fight or shoot with an orc, there's a theme here. You're going to get +1 to your APL until the start of your next activation. All right, the base operative frame here is 12 wounds, 4 up save, and 6-inch movement. The squigs are the same as the commando squigs, so just what they are already. One thing of note here, the knob does not have +1 wound. The knob has +2 wounds, so it's sitting at a nasty 14 health. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's very good.
Just to quickly talk through a couple of the special operatives. The fighter is like the warrior type operative, the melee focused warrior. You can take up to 5 of these. I'm not sure you ever would take 5, but I could definitely see you taking more than 1 or 2 in some instances. So they've got the same base frame as every operative. They have no range weapon, but in melee, 4 attacks hitting on 3s, 5-6 damage in brutal. So pretty nasty, especially paired with 12 wounds. They're going to be like monsters in melee. And if you get cracks on your team, the Wrecka points are going to make them more reliable. So even though they hit on 4s, your fighters and stuff can still have a range threat.
Yeah, like crack grenades with some guaranteed hits if you need them are so good. Like pretty easy to guarantee 8 damage on something.
Yeah. Now, one other interesting thing about the fighters, they have an ability baked in. So for 1 APL, you can either break a piece of equipment terrain and just like yeet it off the board. So goodbye razor wire. Or you can put down a token next to a wall that's less than 1 inch thick. And basically it creates a breach point where operatives can run through that part of the wall now.
Yeah.
Pretty good. On Into the Dark, it could get nutty. I definitely think in some situations, you're going to want more than 1 fighter.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty good. I'll also talk about the base gunner here now. So there's 2 different profiles you can go. You can go normal gunner or heavy. The normal shooting profile is 6 attacks on 5s, 4 or 5 damage, blast 1. That's good.
Yeah.
They also have a little special rule to go with them. Whenever they're shooting a target that's already been shot this turning point, they get a free Wrecka point. So it helps you with your Wrecka point economy, I guess. For ploys here, I think the ploys are the least interesting part about this team. Most of them I think are pretty boring. A lot of them just give rerolls. They do have the same just a scratch that commandos have, which we all know is good.
Yeah, best play in the game.
Yeah, it's the new nerfed version, so it doesn't work on crits, but it's still very good. They also have a bunch of mechanics that really encourage you to be on an engage order. So the tough gets ploy, if you're on engage, you just get a reroll when you're rolling your saves. And then amped up is a strategic ploy. At the start of the turning point, you can pay 1 CP for this, and everybody on your team with an engage order heals D3 plus 1. So yeah, it's not the juiciest heal, but it's team-wide. So if you're like forcing your opponent to not target fire and to split damage, you're gonna get a lot of healing from this.
Yeah, also, and like that makes sense because these orcs are very hard to like focus fire on. With 12 to 14 wounds, 4-up saves, just a scratch, some other damage reduction, it's not easy to one-shot them, right? Yeah. So it's like, it'll be a pretty common situation where you have like a few wounded orcs.
Yeah. They have some pretty decent faction equipment, although I do want to highlight, I think maybe the worst faction equipment in the game to come out so far. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but they have faction equipment where it reduces your movement by 1 inch, but raises your HP by 1 team-wide. I don't know if you ever want to trade 1 HP up for 1 movement down. That just seems bad. Maybe there's some matchups where you'd want this. I don't know.
If it was like up to 6 orcs you can do this with, then it's like I could kind of see that, right? It's like you might want to choose some to have that, but committing team-wide to that seems very rough.
Yeah. I mean, 13 wounds is a nice break point rather than 12 wounds. But do you really want to sacrifice an inch off all your orcs?
No.
I don't think so.
Imagine taking an inch off your knob.
So my thoughts looking at this team, I think, first of all, I love the creativity behind the design. I think they're going to be a very, very fun team, and they're really, really different than any other team we've seen so far. However, the way they're going to survive with 2 APL base and this tanked up ability, I think worries me for their viability a little bit. It's going to be tough because a lot of situations are going to arise where you're just either stuck as a 2 APL model or like you get the 3rd APL, but it's too late. Or, you know, like I see why they gave this mechanic because they didn't want them to be a straight up 3 APL team. But when you compare them to like Space Marines, it scares me the amount of APL they have access to. But I'd love to be proven wrong because I think this team is so fun, and I'm going to play them even if they're bad. But they might be cracked. Like, who am I to say?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Now that we get these boxes in advance, one, like, drawback is the wrong word, but one interesting thing is, like, we don't get the same thing that the audience does, which is, like, a couple weeks of people like us talking about it before they're in our hands. And so it's like, we haven't spoken to anyone other than each other about this team. And so, like, you know, this is what we think.
Yeah.
But it's really going to be interesting to see tournament stats and that sort of thing.
All right, you want to talk Ratlings?
I want to talk Ratlings. So the other team in the box, of course, is the Ratlings. And this was a team for which I was very excited once they were announced. I mean, who doesn't like hobbits with sniper rifles? There's a grilled cheese sandwich in the team. And
delicious cheese sandwich.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a delicious cheese sandwich. And what's not to love?
Nothing.
There are some drawbacks with this team, and the rules have left me a little bit wanting. However, I still think there are a lot of positives about the team. It's not like I think they're just a straight up like dead on arrival team, but they're just not everything I wished for. But let's go through operative selection and that sort of thing first. So with the team, you get 1 fixer who's your leader, and then 11 other operatives selected from Ratling specialists. The sniper is like the normal kind of fighter warrior profile. And then Bulgrins and Ogrins. Now, the Ogrins don't come with the team in the box. So, you know, they've kind of done this before, like Reavers with Phobos, but you'd have to buy like a separate kit for these. And it's not even a kill team kit. I don't know that really matters, but it's just noteworthy, right? Like it's not like you can just go find the orange boxes on the shelf, or like, you know, who knows about stock. It's not like because this is a new team, you know, your store is going to have stock. You're picking up like some old models if you want the full roster.
Yeah.
Another thing about that is that you'll see this throughout. They feel kind of essential for the team to work properly. I wish that if they were going to do this and include these kind of auxiliary models that don't come with the box, that the team felt better without them, and they felt truly optional. Let's look at their faction abilities first, because they are pretty good. So the main one is called Scarper, and what this does is it lets you do some movement. We'll put it on screen, but it lets you do some movement outside of your activation. This is going to be really essential for this team because, as you'll see later, they're extremely squishy and are not going to stay around very long if they are at all exposed to enemy fire, or especially melee. So this gives you an opportunity to react to what your opponent's doing, do some movements outside of your own activation. There's a lot of stationary guns, so this will help to like move before your activation so that you can get the shot off that you need. It's definitely got some play. The other thing that's not really a faction rule, but is kind of part of this with roster selection, is that the wording is kind of strange on this, but my understanding is that if you elect not to select any Bulgrins or Ogrins, in their place, you can select ploys to be free throughout the game. But you're also not selecting Ratlings by that same math. So
yeah, so you can short yourself operatives
Yeah.
to get free ploys. Time will tell if that's good, but my guess is no.
So there are some ploys that are really good, and some ploys that you might want to use for free, but sacrificing bodies is probably not worth it with this team because they already are. They don't have a lot of wounds, right?
Yeah.
So the main frame of these operatives is 2 APL, 5-inch movement, 5 up saves, and 6 wounds.
Yikes.
So this is like an entire team of Krew hounds. No, with actually 5-inch movement. It's like an entire team of Hearthkin rounds.
But worse.
But worse, yeah.
They don't even have good saves.
They don't have good saves. They don't have a lot of wounds. They don't have good movement. So they're very, very easy to kill, and they're not very mobile. And so this is going to be a very challenging team to play. There are some trade-offs for this, though. They have excellent shooting. The sniper is like the main warrior non-specialist operative on this team, and like they've got great shooting. They've got kind of a standard sniper profile for the game. The stationary profile is 4 attacks hitting on 2s, 3/3 damage with 3 devastating wounds. So that's obviously very, very good. I mean, most teams get 1 sniper if they're lucky, and this is an entire team of them. So there is a trade-off. This will work well with Scarper because you can move before your activation and then use the stationary profile to great effect. However, their melee across the team is abysmal. So the best melee operative on the entire team is the hard bit, and his melee profile is 3 attacks, hitting on 3s, 3/5, and balanced. So that's like 3 attacks. That's terrible, obviously. He's only got 6 wounds, which means he's probably going to die in like 2 or 1 attack from the opponent. So, you have 3 attacks, but it's unlikely you're ever going to be able to use all 3 of them for damage. Like this is not a melee team at all.
Yeah, power weapons love these guys. 1 crit and you're dead, baby.
Power weapons love these guys. Flamers really love these guys. But so this is another thing, right? This is why you need the Ogrins and the Bulgrins on the team, because that's how you, with the big operatives, is how you unlock kind of more attacks, more wounds. They've got 16 wounds, 4 up saves. Like this is how you unlock the survivability, things that you can kind of send up the board to mess with your opponent, because without them, your opponent is going to have so much board control because you just can't contest things without your team disappearing.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of thing that worries me with this team. I'm looking forward to seeing how people play them because I'm struggling to see a way forward. Like, as I'm reading these rules, I can think of so many great ways to play against them. You always take a flamer. You always take contain because they're like, with these Ratlings, you're certainly not trying to run to your opponent's deployment zone.
They're slow and they're weak.
Yeah, exactly. So part of the upside of this team is they have some great ploys.
I have one question.
Yes.
Do they have any ploys that make them have more than 3 attacks?
No. So what's interesting is, like, because you can have access to free ploys if you want them, the one that I would choose is sniper positions.
Okay, lay it on me.
Okay, so potentially for 0 CP, which means active all game as a strategic ploy.
Mostly.
So if your operative has a stationary profile on their weapon, which is most of them, it's more than 6 inches from enemy operatives, which you always want to be, and it's got heavy terrain in its control range, that stationary profile has silent. So I think that's going to be very good. Like, you could have almost team-wide silent with this all the time. That seems great. That's very, very strong for a team full of snipers with permanent silent. I would actually consider going with 1 less operative to have this going all the time. I think this seems worth it.
Do they have a super conceal?
They also have a team-wide super conceal as a strategy ploy as well that would pair really well with this. So you can definitely play with this team. It definitely has some strengths, but it's got some big weaknesses, and it's going to be a challenging set of weaknesses to play around, I think.
I can't wait till 3 months from now. This team is S tier busted.
Yeah, I think, honestly, with the big operatives,
Yeah.
it certainly can be. To be honest, like in my mind, as I've like kind of played through how these rules work, I've been kind of ignoring the big operatives because they don't come in the box. And I think a lot of people on day one, this is what they're going to get. And so, yeah, I think that the play between snipers and a few really big bodies moving up the board, that's going to be really powerful and hard to stop. As it comes in the box, they're going to be significantly weaker. So final thoughts are that I really do love the look of this team. I think the models are great. They're fun to paint if you enjoy painting tiny human faces. So, that's Marmite. But they're a tough team. They're going to be a really tough team to play. Though, what comes with that is that they're going to be a really rewarding team to master. And I think some teams and some players will just like not understand how to play against them. I think they will kind of fall apart like a house of cards if something gets in your back line. But I think there's some play, playing against slower teams, playing against chunkier teams. Like I think in those like really unbalanced in those really like kind of unbalanced positions, I think they'll be fun and good. But I think if they're playing against something that's also good at shooting, but just has like, more movement and more access to the board, they're really going to struggle.
Can't imagine these guys facing mandrakes.
That's a perfect example of like,
we should do that battle report, dude.
Yeah.
I think this team also, it's like very interesting seeing a new profile. Team-wide 6-inch wounds is something that's going to make every opponent of yours is going to be thinking, do I have to change what I'm bringing, right?
Yeah.
Because we haven't really seen a team with 6 wounds across the board before, and it's going to like, you want to take your flamers. Maybe there's no other matchup where you want to take your flamers, but I think this is a team where flamers are quite good.
Shotguns?
Shotguns.
Yeah.
Like a lot of things are very good into this that aren't good into other teams necessarily. So I think that'll be interesting.
Yeah, a lot of the math in Kill Team in general, I think, is built around how hard is it to kill a 7-wound operative.
Yeah.
And very little of it is based on how hard is it to kill a 6-wound operative, because the answer to that is very.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think let's just wrap up the whole box as a whole. What do you think? Brutal and Cunning, or trash and garbage?
Well, no, I think it's definitely both brutal and cunning. I think like all of these boxes and like every product, not just Warhammer, but in the world, if you want it, then it's a good product for you. If you like the teams and they look like fun to you, it's definitely something worth picking up, because I think the value is pretty good. The terrain is great. Both teams are really interesting. And, I love that it represents such a deviation from just like normal Kill Team stuff.
Yeah. My review, I guess I would say flavor-wise, nailed it.
Delicious.
Models, nailed it.
Delicious.
Competitiveness, I'm not sure. They might be bad, but honestly, who cares?
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think like lower power level in general is something that I'd welcome in Kill Team. Like it start to creep the power back down a bit. I don't know if you can undo power creep, but if this is a sign of that, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So if you do want this box, I hope you're able to get it. Hop into our Discord and show us a picture of the minis once you paint them, because I love to see them.
Yep. 2 more things before we go.
Oh, never mind.
What?
No, nothing. I thought we were wrapping up.
We are wrapping up.
2 more things and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay. First thing, gotta say thank you to our 1 HP gangsters and mountain goats.
Yes.
And all the patrons over on our Patreon. The new edition has been huge. So much support coming in, and we really, really appreciate it. Even though we get these boxes as review copies early now, still gotta slam these paint jobs out.
Yeah.
And I couldn't commit the time to it. I know you couldn't either if it weren't for the support of the patrons. So thank you so much to the patrons. And secondly, we got a form. What would you call it? A Google form?
Oh, yeah,
going?
this thing.
Why don't you explain this?
Okay, sure. So one thing we're working on for the end of the year is we're compiling a list of our biggest blunders of the year, and we're going to put them together in a video. So there's a link in the description of this video, as well as on our Discord. You can check it out there for a form where you can fill out what you think is our biggest misplay of the year. We're going to compile the most popular results, share some of the comments you leave, and go through how bad we are at Kill Team.
Yeah, some good old-fashioned self-immolation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the premise is kind of with New Year's that will resolve to... No, never mind. No. I'm gonna keep CP re-rolling everything.
Loud and proud
Yeah.
with the bad plays. All right. Thank you for watching. Go watch our battle report. Go call your mom. Have a good day.
Yep.
Bye.
See ya.